Hey everyone! Today we're diving into something we all deal with, but maybe don't always think about: the invisible rulebook for how we talk to each other in this incredibly connected world. Get it right, and you can open up a world of possibilities. Get it wrong? Well, that can lead to a whole lot of confusion. So let's get into it.
I mean, think about it, right? You can pull out your phone and in seconds be talking to someone on the complete other side of the planet. But here's the paradox. That same connection that makes it so easy to talk also makes it incredibly easy to misunderstand each other. And that is the big puzzle we are going to unpack today.
And this connection is happening on every single level. We're seeing this massive worldwide movement of people unlike anything in history, and everyone's bringing their own unique culture and way of seeing things with them. And at the exact same time, you've got these global supply chains just humming along 24/7. They're taking stuff from one continent and turning it into the products that, show up on your doorstep on another. And then there's the layer you can't even see: data. Ideas, news, information. It all just flashes across borders instantly. We're talking faster than any other time in human history. It's kind of mind-blowing. In this news speed, this news scale, it touches everything. Yeah, even the spread of viruses. It really just goes to show how deeply and immediately all of our lives are tangled together now. So that brings us to our first section. We're going to look at this connected and, kind of complicated new world we're in. We're not just talking about globalization as some buzzword, but as this very real thing being driven by tech and trade. So at its heart, globalization is really just about how connected we all are now. But look closely at this definition. The key part isn't just about money or economies. It has huge effects on our culture and our well-being, and that directly changes the way we all communicate. Okay, so let's dive into that. If you think of globalization as the new hardware of our world, then culture is the invisible software that's running in the background. It's this hidden rulebook that tells us how to interact, and most of the time, we don't even know it's there. This quote right here absolutely nails it. Speaking the same language, that's just the start. That's step one. The real game, and where it all gets super interesting, is trying to navigate all those deep-seated cultural differences. And this right here is one of the biggest reasons for misunderstandings. So in high-context cultures, the real meaning is found in the situation, in the relationship between people, in what's not being said. But in low-context cultures, it's all about the words. What you say is what you mean. It's direct. A yes means yes. So just imagine the potential for confusion when someone from a high-context culture tries to make a deal with someone from a low-context one. You can totally see how easily the wires could get crossed. And that leads us perfectly into our next point, because even when we think we're all speaking the same language, like English, for example, those invisible cultural rules are still creating a ton of different versions of it. This brings us to this really cool idea called world Englishes. See, English isn't really owned by the US or the UK anymore. As it spread around the globe, different cultures have taken it and shaped it to fit their own worlds. This whole process is called nativization, and it creates all these unique, local kinds of English all over the place. Okay, so check out this sentence. It's a phrase you might hear a lot in Indian English. My neighbor is foreign returned. Now, if you're from, say, America or England, that might sound a little odd. Any ideas what that means?
And there it is. It's a perfect example. It just means someone who has come back to India after living somewhere else for a while. In that cultural context, it's a perfectly clear and super efficient way to say.
All right, here's another one. And this one's a lot more dramatic. Imagine you see this headline. Now, in American English, salvage means to save something, to rescue it. So, this sounds like great news, right? Someone was saved. But in the Philippines, that word means something very, very different. Yeah, in Philippine English, the word salvage often means to execute or murder someone, usually in the context of an extrajudicial killing. So the exact same word, from the same language, means the complete opposite thing. It's a pretty powerful reminder of just how critical local context really is. So the main point here is that language is always adapting. And it doesn't matter if it's a life or death word like salvage, or something as simple as asking for chips and getting something you didn't expect. The words might look familiar, but the worlds they come from can be totally different. Okay, so now that we've seen how easy it is to misunderstand each other, let's talk about what we can actually do about it.
And it really all starts with being mindful, being intentional with the words we choose, and trying to use language that's sensitive and free from bias.
Take a super common word like chairman. We've used it forever, but if you look at it, the word itself just assumes that the person doing that job is a man. And the fix is just so simple. Using chairperson or even just chair immediately makes the language more accurate and inclusive for everybody, and you don't lose any meaning at all. Here's another one. When we say something like the blind student, we're using what's called disability-first language. We're actually defining that person by their condition first. But look, with just a tiny shift, we can use person-first language. The student who is visually impaired. Can you feel the difference? We're putting the person first, where they belong. The condition is just one part of them. It's a small change in words, but it shows a huge change in perspective. Okay, let's pull all of this together into something you can actually use. Think of this as your global communication toolkit. Some real actionable things you can do to be a more effective, more empathetic communicator. This whole toolkit is about moving from just knowing this stuff to actually doing something with it. Think about those invisible bubbles we all have, our personal space. Start noticing how that's different in other cultures. Pay attention to body language. Think about how decisions get made, or even how people think about time. Is being 5 minutes early a sign of respect, or is being a little late totally normal? And maybe the biggest one, never, ever assume your version of English is the default. These aren't just little etiquette tips, they're the keys to actually building real understanding. So, if we boil this all down, what's the big takeaway? It's really about recognizing that different communication styles are just that, different. They're not wrong or weird. It's about consciously working to check our own biases, choosing respectful and inclusive language, and, probably most important of all, just staying curious and being willing to ask questions when you don't get it. And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. In your very next conversation, whether it's with a colleague, a friend, whoever, what is one of these invisible rules you're going to actively try to see? Because just noticing it, just seeing that rule, that's the first step to becoming a truly great communicator in this amazing, connected, and pretty complicated world. Thanks so much for tuning in.